The land of the free and the home of the brave. I'm a proud American from my birth to the grave. 47's the top, took a bullet for all. Didn't flinch, didn't run, still the answer the call. And we say, be tight, be tight, be tight. Officer Tatum show. Be tight, be tight, be tight. Officer Tatum show. Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave. I'm a proud American from my birth to the grave. 47's the top, took a bullet for all. Didn't flinch, didn't run, still the answer the call. And we say, be tight, be tight, be tight. Officer Tatum show. Be tight, be tight, be tight. Officer Tatum show.
If you don't believe that we are in a fight today, you're sleeping under a rock. If you get hit and you lay down and you cry and you fold up in the corner, definitely you will not win the fight. We show up to win. Our culture needs a lot of you young people in here to step up and stand out. There is nothing or no principality, power, division, devil can stop us when we're united. They can only get you when you're divided. When I see the American flag, I see us progressing to something that can be awesome and great. And if you don't plan on winning then, you might as well go home today.
Ladies and gentlemen, ladies, welcome back to the Officer Tatum Show. Hey, before I start this, because we got a lot of stuff to cover, obviously Tucker Carlson apologized to Trump, and I need to address some biblical things that had been going on my YouTube channel that I think only for the people that want to listen to the Bible. If you don't, it'll only be about, I don't know, 5 minutes, and then we'll move on to something else. But before I start, I want to play a clip, or at least a message from Tucker Carlson real quick that he had put out, wrote a film.
Tucker, how do you feel about Israel versus the Iranian regime?
I mean, I've always said that the Iranian regime is evil and needs to be destroyed. There's no question. And what I think they're doing now, Israel at least, is what they're doing is appalling.
What?
I certainly don't want to be involved in it. But it's, like, what are we doing? And so, I mean, I have no ill will against anyone. I don't hate anyone. I have no biases. All mine are out in the open. I just feel that, you know, I don't hate anyone. I have no animus towards anyone. But I certainly despise Ben Shapiro, the Daily Wire, the neocons, Mark Dubowitz, Mark Levin, all my old colleagues at Fox, my old self.
Your old self?
Yes, I hate my old self. I hate myself completely. I hate myself yesterday. I love myself today. I don't know how I'll feel about myself tomorrow, but that's my business. Who knows? Who knows how they're going to feel about themselves? When I look in the mirror, I don't even know who that is, actually. I don't know what I'm seeing. I don't know who you are.
What?
Are we in a simulation? It certainly feels that way.
A simulation?
And I love it. But I also despise it. And
I'm sorry, this doesn't make any sense.
I'm sorry, but who are you to tell me that I'm incoherent?
But you are being very incoherent.
I know. It's working.
So who do you want to win?
Russia.
Russia? What?
All right, that's good enough. That's good enough. I thought that was incredibly funny when I saw it. Yeah, some of you guys that watch me know I'm not really a big fan of Tucker, to be quite honest. You know, I give respect where respect is due. I think he's done a lot of good things. I think he's intelligent. but I think he's often disingenuous in my personal opinion, and just like the comedian was doing. I mean, one minute he say this, next minute he say this in the same sentence. He like and dislike and hate and never hate at the same time. I cannot stand that about him. However, Donald Trump made mention, and I have a lot of respect for Tucker if this is true. Donald Trump mentioned that Tucker Carlson apologized to him about some of the things that he had said online. Roll the clip.
Senator Ted Cruz interview, it seems like this issue on whether or not the United States should strike is kind of dividing a lot of your supporters.
No, my supporters are for me. My supporters are America first. They make America great again. My supporters don't want to see Iran have a nuclear weapon. Tucker's a nice guy. He called and apologized the other day because he thought he said things that were a little bit too strong. And I appreciated that. And Ted Cruz is a nice guy. I mean, he's been with me for a long time. I'd say once the race was over, he's been with me ever since, right? But very simple. If they think that it's okay for Iran to have a nuclear weapon, then they should oppose me. But nobody thinks it's okay. People that don't want, I don't want to fight either. I'm not looking to fight. But if it's a choice between fighting and them having a nuclear weapon, you have to do what you have to do. Maybe we won't have to fight. Don't forget, we haven't been fighting. We add a certain amount of genius to everything, but we haven't been fighting at all. Israel's done a very good job of that. But we'll see what happens. The bottom line is they can't have nuclear. And if I can't imagine that Ted Cruz said it's okay for Iran to have nuclear, including Tucker. I don't think Tucker says it's okay. The problem is then they get themselves into a thing. They don't want them to have nuclear, but then they say, well, we don't want to fight. Well, you're going to have to make a choice because it's possible that you're going to have to fight for them not to have nuclear. And it's interesting because I did ask Tucker, I said, well, are you okay with nuclear weapons being in the hands of Iran? And he sort of didn't like that. He didn't want to really, but he sort of didn't like that. And I said, well, if it's okay with you, then you and I do have a difference. But it's really not okay with him. Therefore, you may have to fight, and maybe it'll end, very quickly. But there's no way that you can allow, whether you have to fight or not, you can allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon because the entire world will blow up. Not going to let that happen.
Now, I know that there's people who disagree with Trump and they have these theologies. I don't understand is why are people shocked that Trump is saying exactly what he's saying right now? This is the thing that perplexed me when I look back on it. I say, I voted for Trump for all the things that he said in his campaign, all the things he said on the campaign trail, all the things that he said he stood for. And I know he's not going to be perfect, but I know he's going to act in good faith. I'm putting my trust that he is going to do the right thing with the information that has been provided to him, and he's going to act on behalf of America in the best interest of America to the best of his ability. So when the tariffs come and there's adversity in the stock market, I'm not abandoning Trump and saying, look, he didn't do what he said he was going to do. He said on day one he was going to do that. No, I know he's doing it in good faith, and it will end well because he has the right motives, and the motives is for America first. And then when there's a conflict between Israel and Iran, and Donald Trump is doing what Donald Trump is doing, I expected him to act this way because he said it 1,000 times on the campaign trail. And I'm okay with Donald Trump making a decision on behalf of our country. That's why I voted for him. So if Trump believes with the intel that he has and the team that he put around him that we do need to engage in this conflict a little more than what we're doing, I'm okay with that. Why? Because I trust the man and I believe he's going to do what's right for America. If I didn't, I wouldn't have voted for him. If I didn't, then I wouldn't trust nothing that he do. Closing the border, all the great things that he's done, I wouldn't trust him, right? Because he's compromised. He's a part of the deep state. Bro, you got to either be on this side or this side. You got to believe that Donald Trump is going to do the right thing. We're not in a war. There's no World War III. We haven't engaged more than giving them assets here and there. So why cry about and project something that hadn't even happened yet? You think it might happen? Well, I think Trump may not, go that far. He don't need to. And I think he's going to act in the best interest of America. Now, with me saying, how are you shocked, Tucker and whoever else is criticizing Trump? Well, how are you shocked? We got a video of Donald Trump saying this. I mean, we got 16 minutes. And then we're not going to play 16 minutes because it's too long. But we got 16 minutes of Donald Trump saying that he's going to do, or his sentiment is the exact same as it is today. Roll the clip.
You cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. You cannot let it happen because bad things will happen if that happens. But everybody stopped. They were ready to make a deal. We would have made a deal that was great for everybody. No nuclear weapons. You can't give them nuclear weapons. Now they're going to have a nuclear weapon. Don't let Iran have nuclear weapons. That's my only thing I have to tell you today. Don't let them have it. They would have never had them, including Iran. They can't have a nuclear weapon. That's all. They can't have nuclear weapons. It's too destructive, too powerful. They can't have it. But I wanted to make a deal with them. No nuclear weapons. You can't have nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons are the single greatest threat to this world, to the whole world. And Viktor Orban understands that, and some others do too. I just don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. And they weren't going to have one, and they cannot have a.
This is 15 more minutes. Y'all need to play a little more. No. For the people in the back that's saying he only said that once or twice. We're gonna just play just a few minutes. Hang on there. Some people are just joining. I want you to hear Donald Trump. He's probably said it at least 10, 15 times that we've had. Keep playing it.
Nuclear weapon. That was the only thing. The one thing I said, you cannot have. I just didn't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. I said, we're going to make a great deal. Everybody's going to be happy. You're going to be rich as hell again. Everything's going to be great. But you cannot have a nuclear weapon.
You can't let Iran have nuclear weapons.
Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Very simple. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. Instead, we have a very hostile country that wants nuclear weapons. Can't let that happen. The main thing is Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. That was my main thing. The deal was a simple deal. Iran can't have a nuclear, it can't have a missile, can't have a nuclear missile. It cannot have that nuclear capability.
Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. They should have never been in a position where they could have had. If I were president, they wouldn't even be thinking about a nuclear weapon. And now they're months away from getting one because Biden doesn't have any idea what he's doing. He's grossly incompetent, and he has no idea. Iran should never be allowed to have a nuclear weapon, and Biden should never have allowed them to get this far.
They can't have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon. You cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. With Iran.
Do y'all want me to keep going? We got 14 more minutes of this. What more do Donald? I think this is probably one of the most consistent things he said on the campaign trail. This is not like Trump said nothing about Iran having a nuclear weapon. He didn't say anything. And then all of a sudden, Benjamin Yahoo in the middle of the night decide to do something crazy and we didn't know about it, and now we all jumping for joy and standing behind him and we didn't know what was going on. What did Trump say to you? What was you watching? You were too busy kissing butts at Mar-a-Lago and trying to rub elbows with people and I'm MAGA this and wearing your Trump hats and walking around, and you didn't listen to nothing he said. If you didn't want Donald Trump to act, if there's a possibility that Iran could have a nuclear weapon, you shouldn't have voted for him because he said he was going to do something about it. This is his number one. Forget it. Play it again. Come on, more. Just keep playing. I
have a nuclear weapon.
I just want to play a little more for you. What do you say?
I would say just play about 14 minutes.
Keep playing.
Simple. We hope we're going to be friendly, but they can't have a nuclear weapon. They can't have a nuclear weapon. And we were all set to make sure that they don't have a nuclear weapon, because once they do, it's a whole different world. It's a whole different negotiation. I'm not looking to hurt them. I want them to be great. Let them be happy and good. But they can't have a nuclear weapon. And now they're very close to having one. And it's very dangerous for the world. Very dangerous for the world. I mean, the biggest problem today, in my opinion, the biggest risk is the nuclear weapons, the weaponry. It's so powerful today. And I want them to be a strong country. I just don't want them to have a nuclear weapon. It's very simple.
Dangerous to be talking about impacting
you don't want
nuclear facilities?
You can't let them have a nuclear weapon. You have to understand, I didn't want much. All I wanted is you can never have a nuclear weapon. I didn't want much. I wanted Iran to be very successful. I just don't want them to have a nuclear weapon.
Right.
Because that's the real threat. The real threat isn't global warming. The real threat is nuclear warming. Okay? All I wanted was Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. I just wanted, that's all I wanted. Very simple. You can't have a nuclear weapon. And I would have been very good to Iran. They had to have one thing, no nuclear weapons. You can't have a nuclear weapon. Nuclear weapons are the greatest danger to our country going forward, to the world going forward. Iran can't have a nuclear weapon. Nuclear weapons are the greatest.
Are you tired yet? Donald Trump has said, and this, we got 13 more minutes of him saying Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Like, and then he has said numerous times when Joe Biden was in office that they're close to having a nuclear weapon. And there is it bothers me a little bit, because why are people doing this? Donald Trump clearly said this. He's been saying since Biden was in office that Iran is closer to having a nuclear weapon. And then all of a sudden, when Benjamin Netanyahu comes out and says, we had intel that they're even closer, potentially days away from developing a nuclear weapon, it's all of a sudden the most shocking thing ever on planet Earth, that Benjamin Netanyahu just made this up out of the side of his neck, when Trump has been talking about this since Biden was the president. And everywhere he's gone on the campaign trail, he keeps saying they can't have a nuclear weapon. Why do you think he's saying it if they don't have the opportunity to have a nuclear weapon? If they're never going to get a nuclear weapon? If it's just everybody just saying it's just to be saying it. We've been saying it for 45 years. You think he's just making this up? This is our guy that we voted for. Why are people turning on? I mean, not turning on him. Some are turning on him, clearly turning on him. But why are people turning on him when he already presented his side? Who changed? Him or you? Who changed? This is the thing that bothers me. They saying Donald Trump changed. Donald Trump not doing his campaign promises. Donald Trump being a warmonger. Well, Donald Trump has been Donald Trump and have been saying he's Donald Trump. You now all of a sudden have a problem. I don't get it. I'll never get it, man. And this is the reason why I'm upset. I get upset with Tucker. And Ted Cruz should be ashamed of himself. And I like Ted. He should be ashamed that he was unprepared for that interview. Ted Cruz did not do well showing. It was terrible. It was probably the worst interview ever that anybody could ever do. I mean, he got embarrassed on every front, because when you're talking to somebody like Tucker, you got to know he's sarcastic. He's gonna do all these things to you to win an argument, not to actually get a point across. And at the end of the day, it's like Tucker should know Trump better than anybody. He called him on the phone because Trump has been saying he didn't want a nuclear weapon there. Israel, all of a sudden, Israel got to be the bad guy. They may not do everything perfect, but I don't think that they lie about everything that ever happens. I don't think they the first ones going to get hit. So I think that they have a vested interest in making sure Iran doesn't have a nuclear weapon. This is existential to them. The first person they're going to hit is right there. America is a far stretch. We have a military vast throughout the sea, submarines, nuclear submarines. I mean, we loaded. Iran shoots some over here. They dead before the missile even get up in the atmosphere. So they don't want to do that with us, but Israel don't have that capability, and we're not monitoring them 24 hours a day. All right, now let's get to something else real quick. And I'm not done with Israel yet. We'll get to some drag queen stuff in a minute. But I need to address this biblical truth. You guys are probably hearing people go out and talk all this craziness about Israel and that these people aren't the chosen people, whatever. Let's talk biblical real quick. And I'm gonna read a couple scriptures. You can go and look this up on your own, to be quite honest. I'm not telling you something I don't know. I wouldn't talk about it unless I researched it. Now, when it comes to whether or not the Jewish people that exist in Israel today are literally DNA descendants from Abraham, I haven't looked into the accusations against that. I'm under the impression that they are. I'm under the impression these are the same people, the same practices. They believe in the same God, the same prophets. They honor the same law, every single thing that happened. Now, in Israel, not everybody is a Jew. And not everybody is a practicing Jew, which means that they're Jewish by ethnicity, not necessarily Jewish by religion. So you got a bunch of different things going on in Israel. But let me just say this, because this is a cold blood fact. Let's stop conflating Israel with the state of Israel. Biblically speaking, just like we say, the church is not a building. The church is the people of God. We call them the church. The church is you and me. Israel is the same way. Israel is not a location. Israel are the descendants of Abraham, God's chosen people, who he called his chosen people, and he called them Israel. Now, those are a people, and the people were promised the land. And the land is present day Israel. They just so happen to call it Israel. Historically and biblically, it wasn't called Israel. The people were called Israel. The land was Judea, Samaria. I mean, you name it, Jerusalem. It was all of that together way back then. But today they happen to call it Israel. So let's not conflate the two. Please understand this. God had a chosen people. Those people fell away from God according to the Bible, but they are still his chosen people that he made his original covenant with. Those people were promised the promised land, which is all of what we see Israel and even more than what they occupy today. That land was promised to them. That promise will not go void or not return void. God is going to maintain his promise to his people. Now, the Christians believe, of course, I'm a Christian, that we were engrafted into the fold and also became God's people. And now salvation is offered to us as well. We have been adopted into the promise. But there still remains God's people of the original promise. We just have been engrafted in more recently. Now, let's add this. And then you go to the physical location where we now call present day Israel. That land belongs to God's chosen people, the descendants of Abraham, and also us. And so that, to me, is even more of the reason why people should support the state of Israel, not only for the people of Israel, but also because that land belongs to us, and it's the promise that was promised to the descendants of Abraham, and we've been engrafted into that lineage and that family. Let me give you some Bible real quick, because a lot of people get this misconstrued, and I think that it's invaluable to talk about this. Read Romans 9, 10, and 11. Go and read Genesis 12. And Google the rest of them, because it's all over the Old Testament, about the promises that were made. So you can hear what God has said about his promise to his people. Now, let me read this, because God delineates between Gentiles and Jews. Now, of course, salvation is to both. There's no Jew or Gentile, no Greek or anything, no male or female in the eyes of salvation that God has offered to people. But the promise is different. Let me read it. This is what Paul said in Romans. If you go to Romans chapter 11, we can start at verse 1. And this is the part where Paul is pretty much saying, Christians are called to be humble to the fact and honor the original people, the original promised people, the Jews, because our salvation came through them. Because of their steadfastness at one point, because of their adherence to the law, because the law and the prophets who came through them allow us to be engrafted into salvation. If it had not been for them, we wouldn't be saved. So we have to humble ourselves and understand and give the credit where credit is due to the original people that God chose. Now, let's go down this 11 chapter 1, and I'm gonna move on. So if you're not religious, just come back in a couple minutes. All right. It says, I asked then, has God rejected his people? By no means. For I myself am an Israelite, a descendant of Abraham, a member of the tribe of Benjamin. God has not rejected his people whom he foreknew. That's not me and you. We are Gentiles. We're new. This is the people he foreknew from the beginning. Do you know or not know what the scripture says about Elijah, how he approached or appealed to God against Israel? Lord, they have killed your prophets. They have demolish your altar. I have alone left, or I alone am left, and they seek my life. But what is God's reply to him? I have kept for myself 7,000 men who have not bowed the knee to Baal. So too, at the present time, there is a remnant chosen by grace. But if it is by grace, it is no longer one based on works. Otherwise, grace will be no longer grace. And then it goes on, and I'll read this last part. It says, what then? Israel failed to obtain what it was seeking. The elect obtained it, but the rest were hardened, as it is written, right? So when you look back at Elijah coming to God and saying, your people have done all this stuff. I'm the only one that's upholding the standard, and they want to kill me. And he said, no, don't be fooled. I have a remnant of people who haven't bowed to Baal, who are upholding the standard, and I'm going to save them. But there's a remnant that were hardened, right? Let's go down to verse 11. It says, so I ask, do they stumble in order that they may fall? And this is the ones who wasn't part of the remnant and the ones who fell away that we know have fallen still today. It says that they stumble in order that they may fall. By no means. Rather, through their trespass, salvation has come to the Gentiles so as to make Israel jealous. Now, if their trespass means riches for the world, and if their failure means riches for the Gentiles, how much more would their full inclusion mean? Now I'm speaking to the Gentiles. Insomuch then, as I am an apostle to the Gentiles, I magnify my ministry in order somehow to make my fellow Jews jealous and thus save some of them. For if their rejection means that the reconciliation of the world, what would their acceptance mean by life from the dead? If the dough offended as first fruits is holy, so is the whole lump. If it is rooted or root is holy, so are the branches. But if some of the branches were broken off, which he's talking about Israel, and you, although a wild olive shoot, were granted or grafted in among the others, now share in the nourished root of the olive tree, do not be arrogant towards the branches. If you are remember, or if he says you are remember, it is not you who support the root, but it's the root that support you. Then you will say, branches were broken off so that I might be grafted in. That is true. They are broken off because of their unbelief, but you steadfast through faith. So do not become proud, but fear, for if God did not spare the natural branch, neither will he spare you. So what he's saying is that you have God's chosen people, and I'm gonna conclude this in verse 25, and this is about Israel. What he's saying is that the original tree, the branch was cut off, the branches were cut off from the root, giving you access to be grafted in. So we have to acknowledge, and Paul says this a little bit in the other chapters, but we have to acknowledge that our salvation came through them. And so we should be humble and not be so boastful against the original promised people. We should be humbled enough to say, if God is willing to cut them off, he'll cut us off too if we decide to act a fool. But this is what the prophecy continues, or at least Paul's addressing of the prophecy of how God is going to save his chosen people. And then it says here in verse 25, let you be wise in your own sight, or lest you be wise in your own sight. I do not want you to be unaware of the mystery, brothers. A partial hardening has come upon Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles have come in. Israel, Gentiles. The original descendants of Abraham are the Israel. We are the Gentiles. And he said there's a temporary hardening of the Israelites or Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles have come in. And in this way, all Israel will be saved, as it is written, the deliverer will come from Zion. He will banish ungodliness from Jacob, and this will be my covenant with them when I take away their sins. All right. I said all this to say, and I went through yesterday a scripture about the covenant and the callings and all this stuff. I said this to say that Christians, let us not be fooled and let us understand the scripture. The scripture is very clear that God had a chosen people, and it wasn't the Gentiles. It was the Jews. Jesus came through the line of David. He was a Jew. Our Savior was a Jew. God had chosen his people, the Jews, but they fell away from him, disobeyed. They became hardened of hearts. Romans 1 talks about this. They were giving them to all kind of unrighteousness, and many times they still doing it. But God allowed through them for the Gentiles to have salvation. And now we do. We've been engrafted into the promise. But do not forget that God is going to come back and save his chosen people, the original promised people who fell away, gave us the right, gave us the ability to be engrafted. And those people are Israel, the people. and they were promised the land, what we call Israel today. Those things are sacred, in my opinion, for Christians. We should bless them who gave us salvation, who allowed us to have salvation through them, and they're falling away. And we should also acknowledge that Christ, or at least God the Father, had promised this land that we should be protecting and that we should be honoring. And the land belongs to us too, because we are a part of God's chosen people. That's why Israel matters. This is why we do what we do. This is why we honor the people who are there now. Although we may not agree with them, although we think that some of them should be believing in Jesus and they don't. But that's not our position to judge them, to condemn them to hell. That's on God. We don't have to kiss their butt. We don't have to believe in everything they do. Just because their government system is a certain way don't mean that we have to capitulate to that. None of that matters. We just have to honor the things that God has said honor and let him deal with the rest of the stuff. It does not mean that we admire their government system. We don't admire ours. The Bible is not talking about the government. It's talking about the people. It's not talking about the government. It's talking about the land and the people in the land. That's the land of milk and honey. That's the land where the blessing is coming. That's the people that God had made a promise to, not Benjamin Netanyahu in a government structure. And the same blessings that we experience today don't come through Donald Trump. It don't come through the government. It don't come through co-equal branches of government. It don't necessarily come through the Constitution. It comes through the church, which is us, the people. And God blesses us on the land that we occupy. It's not about the government. If it was about the government and we had a loyalty to the government, we would overthrow the government in Israel and we'll overthrow the government in America. That's not what it's about. God is not calling you to somehow be somehow observant of a government structure outside of being obedient to the laws of the land. I think those of you who got it, who got the Spirit of God, you get what I'm saying. If you don't get what I'm saying, you don't have to agree with me, but you at least should get what I'm saying. If you don't get what I'm saying, then you need to go pray. All right, updates on Israel real quick, and then I'm going to move on to other things that you probably want to hear about. The bombing at the hospital. Real quick, it won't take long for me to talk about this. Play the clip. So this has been a development. Iran bombed a hospital in Israel. And this is a little bit of the aftermath. All right, you guys can see that. The problem with this, and I will say, is that Israel is bombing military facilities and nuclear sites in defense in military areas. Iran is sending missiles to directly hit civilian hospitals and kill civilian people. They're not the same. This is not the same war. This is military on military, but they want to go after civilians. This is what they do. That's why I support Israel in their fight against these evil, radical, devilish people who hate America, who hate God. All right, we can continue. This is what Caroline Levitt has said when it comes to Donald Trump's actions or the lack thereof, whichever way he decided to go, when it comes to this conflict. Roll the clip.
Now, regarding the ongoing situation in Iran, I know there has been a lot of speculation amongst all of you in the media regarding the president's decision-making and whether or not the United States will be directly involved. In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks." That's a quote directly from the president for all of you today. So we'll kick it off for questions here in our new media seat. We have Eli Lake from the Free Press. Eli, go ahead.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
The Free Press. The decision to extend.
All right, so pretty much what she said is that there should be negotiation talks, and Donald Trump is going to make the decision if he wants to even talk to them anymore. Donald Trump has said time and time again, you can't have a nuclear weapon. He tried to negotiate peace with them. They keep playing around, and at some point, you're going to get a whooping. That's just how it is. And I love a president like that, and I support Donald Trump 1,000%. At what point, how many times am I going to tell you before I got to give you a whooping? And you can't say, oh, daddy, I'm sorry now. Daddy, I'm sorry now. Daddy, I'm sorry now. No. You passed the point I'm sorry. Now you finna get that whooping. You can't just say I'm sorry after you done something to stop the whooping at the last minute. You had plenty of time to do what you're supposed to do, and you decide you're not going to do it. And now that I got the belt out, now you want to apologize. You should have, I have a belt. You should apologize before I went and got the belt. But you want to push until I got the belt and I'm headed up to your room, and now you want to say, Daddy, I'm sorry, Daddy, I'm sorry. You should have done that a long time ago. Now you finna get this whooping. Now I don't whoop my kids because I'm not as strong as my daddy then was. We kind of wussies now. I think daddies now wussies. I'm big, bad, and strong. I can't imagine whoop my kid with a belt. If I just had to, I would, but my oldest skinny, boy. I'm like, I might go to jail if I hit him with a belt. I don't. How hard do you swing? I feel like my dad and them were going full throttle. Yeah. I could hear the wind, the sound barrier when that belt was swiping across. We were getting ate up. At least it felt like he was going full speed. But I don't know. I don't think I can go full speed on my kids. I'm like, oh man, if I hit you hard, like if I swing that thing, hit you once, you're gonna be out on the ground. I don't get CPS gonna be at the house. But anyway, that's what Donald Trump is saying, and I think that he is wise enough to make that decision. And it's a lot of bluffing going on, right? Leave Tehran and all this other stuff. I mean, it's a bluff game, bruh. He ain't telling them what he gonna do, but he also playing the game. He know what these people want to hear and what they don't want to hear. He probably got every intention to go to the negotiation, but he's gonna tell the public so that they put it out in the press so they don't know what he's thinking, that I might not go. And then put the pressure on them to think, well, like, what if he doesn't go? What if he don't want to negotiate? Could this continue? Are we going to lose everything? Russia ain't finna get involved in this war. And if they do, I'll come back on here and say I was wrong. Anyway, the conflict just continues, and I'm hoping that it resolves soon. I'm hoping that Israel, with the help of America in a very distant and minor way, can achieve the goal of not allowing them to have a nuclear weapon, and then for us all to be safe. They can go along to get along, do whatever they want to do. They keep playing, we're going to have to get involved. All right. Let me do a quick commercial break real quick. And I want to go on to the Tatum store real quick. We'll start with the main page. The main page. There you go. All right. Yeah, that's good. All right, I wanted to tell you guys about the Tatum store real quick because I know a lot of you guys probably watching this shirt and like, where's this shirt at? Where can I get it at? I'll take care of it. I'll take over where the shirt and where I can get it at. So right now, this is our 4th of July shirt. I think you can put in the code. Do we have a code up here? I think you can put in the code Freedom. What is it? Freedom 20?
There's no code for the Rising Lion.
No. This for 4th of July.
Oh, USA 20.
Oh, USA 20. You put in USA 20, you get 20% off our 4th of July merch assortment. So the one that I got on right now, we got the Uncle Don. Faith and Freedom is one of the biggest hitters right now. But this one right here is the #1 hitter. This Metallica type America thing is #1. So get it now. Oh, we already sold out of XL and 2X. We're going to get them back in stock. So if you see one that's sold out, just hit notify me when made available right here. And as soon as we restock it, we're going to have it to you ASAP. All right. And then also for those of you who are like me that love Israel, if you want to support Israel, you can get one of these shirts. Proceeds will go to it's a nonprofit that I've worked with in the past. It's like the Christian and Jewish Alliance. I'm going to donate proceeds from this shirt to that alliance, which is Christian and Jewish Alliance. All right. It's not just Jew stuff. It's also a Christian and Jewish Alliance, which I'm a big supporter of Israel. I'm a big supporter of the Jewish people. And if you're a supporter, you can get the shirt. If you don't want to, don't get it. All right. All right. That's enough of the advertisement. Let's move on. Drag queen shows in Oregon at their House of Representatives, at the floor of the House of Representatives. And when you wonder how deranged these people are, and we say that these people are going out of control, And you know, when we say these things, there's people in the media that go, look, the conservatives just saying stuff. They just radical. This is on the floor of Congress in the Oregon House of Representatives. So the House or the Congress, the floor of Congress in Oregon, it says the House of Representatives. I don't know if they combine the floor or not, but the House of Representatives, this is what they got. Instead of doing the people's business, they got dudes dressing up as women doing freaky stuff. Roll the clip. These are dudes, by the way. I think that's what's named son. I think that's Magic's son right there. Why though? Time out. Like the question is why though? Couldn't they get women to do this? Could they get some dancers to do this? Why did they have to get men dressed up like women to do this? This is so disrespectful to women, in my personal opinion. If you leave the drag stuff to the drag shows at the drag clubs, that's another thing. People can voluntarily get involved in that and they want to be a part of that shit. But you got men dressing up like women to perform like women. It's literally men saying, we can do this better than y'all. Why do we need women when we can dress like women and dance better than y'all? I think these men think they do it better than women. That's why they doing it. They think that they can dance and perform and look feminine and flashier than what women can do. If not, why can't they just be men dancing to the song? Why they got to dress up like women? Everybody know they men. Look at that one, 7 feet tall. I thought that was Shaquille O'Neal for a minute. Why don't the men just dance to the song as men? Or get women to dance to the song? Why they got to impersonate women and dance to the song? This, to me, looks just like blackface. You got black Negroes, you got people painting their face trying to dance like they black or something with stereotypical black stuff. Watermelon in their hand, grape juice, chicken. That's what they might as well do. White people with their face painted with fried chicken and watermelon jumping on the stage like this. Because this is exactly what these men are doing in trying to impersonate the stereotypical actions of a woman. They dress up like women because they think women look like this. They think women dress like this. They think their feminine mannerisms are like this. And they saying that this is what make a woman. This is woman face. And women, not the women watching this because y'all great, but other women who are, I would argue, some of the stupidest people on planet Earth, that men are trash too. But women, y'all don't stand up for nothing. Girl boss. Y'all let men in your sports, let your girls get bludgeoned. Don't say nothing. Riley Gaines and a few other women and the women that's watching this are the only ones that stand up. Women, by and large, are letting men dominate their spaces, letting men call themselves women. And women are taking a back seat to men who think they women. You letting a man walk around and talking about he need a tampon, put in his butt, because he ain't got a vajayjay. Homeboy ain't bleeding every month unless he doing something he supposed to do in the back end. Then you need to go to the hospital. If you're trans and you bleeding every month, you need to go to the hospital, bro. That ain't supposed to bleed. I mean, you doing something you ain't supposed to be doing. Okay, a woman they made like that. That's how they recycle eggs or whatever. I'm not recycling, but they flush them out. And I don't know. I'm not a woman. I think they do something like that. But your booty hole shouldn't be bleeding, bro. So don't give me that I'm in the bathroom with tampons as a man. Y'all women just okay with that. That make total sense. Not y'all. Remember, I'm talking about the girl down the street wearing a mask in a Tesla with I don't like Elon on the back of the Tesla. Stop it. Get some help. What are we doing as a society? You know, I'm not really a big Muslim person, but I do respect the fact that they stand up for what they believe. Women can't drive and women do that, even though it's ridiculous to me. At least that's what they believe and they standing on it. You go to their country and you disobey their moral code, they gonna handle you. Sometimes I wish America had a moral code to some degree. How about we not transition kids? Like, can that be a moral code? How about we don't have drag queens at a school? Can that be okay? How about we don't let men dress like women and pull their penises out in the women's locker room? Can we have a moral code? Is that too much? Can that be just too much? Right? You can be trans you want, but maybe you should change in another locker room. Or maybe you could change when the girls go in and the girls go in first and then you go in after them and change. There's no harm, no foul in doing that. You different. We know you different. They can still let you use the women's facility. You just can't use it with other women because you got a penis. And let's survey the women. Do y'all want to see this person pull it unsolicited? What kind of freaky fantasy they creating? Women don't want to see every man thing. They only want to see the ones they want to see. To me, making them look at one they don't want to look at is assault. That's assault. What are you talking about? It's asinine. If a coach decides to go change in the locker room with the volleyball team or the softball team, and the male coach go in the locker room with the why can't he? Why can't he? And I'm moving on, Nick. I promise. I'm not gonna stay here long. Why can't he? Why can't just say the male coaches who was there at the meet when Riley Gaines and Leah Thomas were competing against each other? Why couldn't the male coach go in the locker room and change? Because he will expose his genitalia? I swear to God, I hope they all go to hell for what they did. It pisses me off. And I don't even like to say words like that, but it pisses me off to fathom that somebody sat there and said, that makes total sense for that boy to go in there with them girls and be able to pull his genitals out and watch them girls naked without us doing any vetting or without us asking these women, are they okay with it? We just forced them in there to do it. But then that same person would flip out, press charges, call the police, cry on television if the coach went in and took a shower with the girls. And there is no difference between the male coach and Leah Thomas. They have when they take their clothes off, they look the same biologically. And then both of them are interested in women. There is no difference between Leah Thomas and a male coach. And so therefore, a male coach should have been able to go in the locker room and do the same thing Leah Thomas did. Pull his thing out, look at the women, and change and dress in front of them. What's the difference? You should burn in hell if you think one is okay and the other one is wrong. Okay. I know I'm getting extreme, but I know y'all feel me. I know y'all feel me on this. I cannot believe somebody sat there and thought that was okay. And they just let it happen. Some of these women may be traumatized to be forced to look at a man and they feel they gotta change and they know they're getting looked at and they have to be pressured into doing it anyway. It's insane. People should be punished for that. Anyway, let's go to the View real quick on Juneteenth. Because I think that Juneteenth is coming up. It's today, right? It's today. Ain't nobody celebrate Juneteenth, the stupidest thing in the world. Anyway, let's play Juneteenth and what they got to say. And then I put my life on it. I put my life on it. I haven't watched this clip. I put my life on it that they're not gonna appropriately articulate the truth about Juneteenth. I put it on my life, and I'm gonna tell you what they're not gonna say after I play the clip, because I just want to make sure. And I don't know what to do. If I lose, I gotta jump out this window, right, Nick? I'm gonna jump through the glass. I'm not gonna even don't open it. I'm just gonna jump through the glass to my death. This is the last podcast y'all gonna see me if they tell the truth about this. Roll the clip.
Today.
Let me not hold on.
Juneteenth.
I'm joking. Somebody gonna say you're trying to commit suicide. I'm joking. I know for a fact they're not gonna tell the truth because they lying H words. Roll the clip.
And that means we're celebrating the day 160 years ago when enslaved people in Galveston, Texas, finally learned they had been freed. Lots of other people knew, but they didn't know in Galveston. And here we are, 160 years later.
If you see Whoopi when you die, you went to hell. I just want you to know that. Now, let's talk about Juneteenth just real quick. I don't need to do a whole history lesson. Juneteenth, there were enslaved blacks in Galveston, Texas, that did not know they were officially free. Although it was rumored that they were free, although other blacks told them that they were free, they didn't believe them. And in 1865, they were officially told that they were free. And that's why they celebrate Juneteenth. However, all black people still weren't free. Because actually, if you do the research, in Juneteenth, the Galveston people who acknowledged or finally got the, got the confirmation that they were free, they were not the only slaves. What these cowards fail to mention, and they do it intentionally, and this is why I have a problem with all this stuff. Just keep it real. What they fail to mention, because they don't want this to be a part of history, is that it was still slaves. The Choctaw Indian had not released their slaves. But they don't want you to know that Indian people that the natives own slaves. And they don't want you to know that that was the actual last remnant of slaves released, is when the Choctaw released their slaves a year later. Or the next year. I don't know if it was the actual calendar year, but the next year, the Choctaw Indian released their slaves, which were the final remnant of black slaves released to freedom. That's why it's so disingenuous for them to pick June 19th, 1865, when it probably would be March something, 1866. But they cannot have in history that Indians were the last to release black people from slavery. Because they can't blame it all on white people. And that's what makes me insanely upset about the disingenuous nature. But since you don't want to tell the truth, then we shouldn't have nothing to do with Juneteenth. Juneteenth should not be a federal holiday. If you look at the holidays, the federal holidays and state holidays, state issues are state holidays. Federal issues are federal holidays. Just because a few people in Galveston, Texas found out they were free doesn't mean that the country had not already freed black people. Federally, the country had already freed black people. Everybody knew they were free. People in Galveston were told they were free. It's just they didn't believe it. It wasn't confirmed. Federally, they were already free. That's the celebration. That's the holiday. Not when somebody in Galveston, Texas would notify they're free. And they weren't even the last slaves to be freed anyway. Let's play Jasmine Crockett. And we'll go from there. Roll the clip.
Before we get into everything today, we're celebrating Juneteenth.
Yeah.
Tell me about Juneteenth.
Listen, now I'm a Texan.
Yes, you are.
So I feel like the rest of the country is just now kind of getting tuned in.
Yeah.
But I will tell you that being a black woman, and for those that don't understand Juneteenth, this was about the fact that the last slaves down in Texas finally 2 years later realized that, or were made aware that they were no longer enslaved people. But in this time, though, especially with the anti-DEI movement and the rollback just of our civil rights and our civil liberties as a whole, as well as...
Stop it. What mother freaking civil rights have been rolled back? What civil rights have been rolled back? Civil liberties have been rolled back as black people in America. What? And then the other dumb women on the panel, which is why sometimes I don't know if every woman should be able to vote no more. I used to think it could. And then I look at the way women vote, and we would be communist China if only women voted. Thank God. And these dumb women are probably the ignorant women in the vacuum, but nobody checks Jasmine Crockett on any factual thing. And I guarantee you at least 3 women on that panel know that Jasmine Crockett full of crap, but they're not going to say anything. Now, forgive me, women who are watching this. Y'all perfect. Y'all Mother Mary perfect. I'm talking about these other fools. Roll the clip.
Ignoring the Constitution, and there's so many rights that Black folk got specifically just from the Constitution. I think that this Juneteenth, everyone, whether you're Black or otherwise, should really evaluate what does freedom look like in this country, and are we willing to fight for it? And I think, you know, evaluating what happened at No Kings, I think we are ready and willing to fight for our freedom. But I think that it is important that we come together and we define what freedom looks like for those of us in this country, not just Black folk.
All right, hold on. All right, I think that's it. No Kings. Can y'all know how stupid this sound? No Kings. Yet they support Iran and they support Hamas. But it's a no king thing. These people are not run by a democracy. And then how would anybody be a king in America? We don't have a structure for somebody to be kings. To be honest, if there was actually a threat of somebody trying to be a king, they'd cut your head off with the crap that you're talking. It's so crazy that people say, what tells you that you're a hypocritical fool is that you have so many freedoms that you are free enough to criticize the freedoms. Go to Iran and tell them about how oppressive they are. You're free with no oppression in the state that you complain about, and you support a state that you couldn't even complain about the actual oppression that they're enduring. Won't say nothing about women that are oppressed in Iran. Won't say nothing about it. But you're supposed to be for women. What does freedom look like? No kings. A bunch of dumb people, unemployed, running around, boomers who are at these protests for 30 minutes and they go home. We never had a king. We wasn't about to have a king, and we ain't going to have a king, and y'all didn't stop nothing from having a king. If we were going to have a king, the must be a king, regardless if you're at the protest or not. It's so funny, these people. They get on there in Padilla cries and say, I was unallowed to have a voice. They pushed me and they handcuffed me for asking a question on a platform in front of the world where he can just ask the question right here. Herefore on C-SPAN, on national TV, where if he really wants to ask his question, he can ask it right here with the whole world watching. So how are you oppressed, and how is there a regime that's thwarting a Congress member from asking the question when you could ask the question to his face? You could have asked the question in the forum, and you're on a platform right now in front of the world complaining about asking a question that you could ask right here. You can't make this up. You can't make it up. Black people are 140 years. This is what's wrong with a lot of black people today, because you stupid enough to still believe there's something wrong for 140 some years later, or whatever she said. My math is bad. We don't have no rights and opportunities. 100 years later, our rights are being. Don't you see you getting played? Black people, don't you see you getting played? What right is she talking? Get her to tell you what rights. Get her to tell you what civil rights she talking about. Get her to look at a piece of paper and a chart and show where black people were financially, I don't know, 140 years ago to right now. How many black people live in America 140 years ago and then right now? Black people, I'm sad because we can't go back and change history, but black people would have been just as prominent as any other person in America. I think black people would have been neck and neck with white people in America, as far as population, as far as culture, as far as dominant in education and everything. But black people got tricked, and they still stupid today. Not all, but a lot, is that they are willing to forego their own endeavors and opportunities to live the American dream to be under the thumb of the government. Instead of them working on the state level, they wanted to nationalize their objectives. And instead of them building families, they were destroying their families. Instead of saying, I'm not going to sell drugs to my brother and sister, I don't care how poor we get. No, I'm going to sell drugs and ball on the backs of our brothers and sisters, killing them and turning them into zombies, gang banging, and you know, you name it, all the things that have been destructive to the black community. I'm not going to own a bank. No, we're not going to come together and pool our money together. No, we're not going to keep money in the community. We're going to be and complain about all these other people while we destroy our own community. The biggest threat to black people in America are black people. And it has been probably for the last 60 years. What are we talking about, man? White people are off living their life. Black people are screwing each other. You come out and say something intelligent, they say you're trying to be like a white person. You're like, bro, that kind of make you look bad. Because just because I want to be better in life and I want to be educated, mean I'm trying to be like a white person. That should be a diss to you. All right, I'm done whooping them on Juneteenth. I just want to play this clip real quick because there's so many other clips, man. I can't get to them all. I want to play this clip real quick just about this veteran that they belittled and harassed in the middle of the street. A short clip. I just want to play it because I saw it the other day and it was on my heart. This should tell you everything you need to know about these people who claim to be pro-Palestinian. Really, they're pro-Hamas. There's no such thing as pro-Palestinian. They're pro-Hamas. You will never find a person that said they're pro-Palestinian that's not pro-Hamas. Because one or two things are going to occur. They're either going to never tell you how you could be pro-Palestinian without the actions of Hamas. And then they say, well, we don't want Hamas to do what they did, but they don't have a solution to what should be done. They have nothing. So at the end of the day, they're pro-Hamas. 98% of them. I think 2% are just too dumb to know it. But this is a veteran. Listening to his accent, he's from the U.S., served in the military, and it said right there in the caption, I just realized it. But he was given an honest opinion. Clearly, he didn't know who these people were. He's obviously intoxicated a little bit. So he was giving his honest opinion about who is oppressive and who's not because he's seen it on the battlefield. Wrote a clip. And listen to how they treated him. Wrote a clip.
Can we ask you your stance on Palestine?
On what?
On Palestine.
On Palestine?
Yeah.
So, this is my personal opinion.
Yes, that's all we ask for, brother.
So I've been deployed. I've been in the Middle East and all that stuff. There's an issue, in my personal opinion, with a religion that raids and steals children, right?
Is that the Jewish religion, the Christian religion, or which religion are you talking about, bro?
It's Islamic religion.
The Islamic religion?
But it's the
I'm a veteran, brother.
But it's the extremist. It's the extremist
bro,
Islamic
shut the
religion.
Stop right there. Now, what's wrong with what he said? He comes up, they ask him a question. He said, this is my opinion. They go, that's all we ask for. It's your opinion. I swear I wish I was there with him so we could just fight these people and be done with it. We just knock these, come on, dude, you've been to war. I know you got to look. Just knock these people out on the side of the road and let's go on and we'll pray about it later. I can't stand people that treat people like this and that are this ignorant. They bring the man over. He served our country. He's a hero. He says, this is my opinion. They go, oh, give us your opinion. That's all we want. He says, I have a problem with religion that steals children, which we all know that they went over into Israel and they kidnapped and held hostage women and children. And they killed them. Some of the hostages came back. They had the remains of children that they murdered. So that's why I hope the whole place turned to a parking lot. How you got to be such a barbaric, evil person to kill somebody's kids. They ain't got nothing. If it was an IDF soldier, it's wrong, but it's a soldier. You pick somebody, random children, babies, and you killing them. Anyway, so he just mentioned that based on his war experience. They should have been fine. They should have had a debate. They should have had a disagreement with him and been cordial and reasonable. But he said it's the extremists. He didn't say all Muslim. He didn't say the whole faith. He said, but it's the extremist people. And that was the most fair statement, a fair comment that I've ever heard. And how did they treat this man after telling them they only wanted to hear his opinion? And he said what he had to say. Go back just a little bit so we can play it. All right, go.
How about that, bro?
No, go back a little bit.
Hey, bro, how about you shut the Islamic religion?
But it's the
I'm a veteran, brother.
It's the extremist. It's the extremist.
Bro,
Islamic
shut the
religion.
up. How about that, bro?
Real Islam, bro.
Hey, bro, how about you shut the up,
extremist Islam that has nothing to do
bro, you're
with
a
the real
pussy,
Islam.
Bro, did you kill any Arabs, bro? Did you kill any Arabs, bro?
Everybody
Why
Did you kill any Arabs, bro? Hey, military boy, did you kill anybody?
Why are you guys yelling at me?
Yelling at me? Why are you guys? Oh my God, the white man is just so confused. He's just so confused. He's so confused. Stay the out of the Middle East and stay the out of LA. How about that? But you're about to be all over Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram. You ready, bro?
Dude, I don't care if I'm
You
all
don't
over
care?
TikTok.
That's cool.
Now, let me give a disclaimer. I don't believe everything I see, right? That seemed pretty extreme, right? If it is true, it seemed like it was genuine. It's terribly crazy. I can see how somebody can stage this to make a deal out of it, right? They got these people just going so radical against this guy and everything. But also these people are that crazy, so I can see this being a real thing and not just a skit or something. But I think that this is exactly how these people are. They thought he was going to side with them somehow. And when he didn't, they called him names and disrespected him as a veteran of the United States of America. Why? In support of Hamas. In support of Hamas, who kidnapped and killed people. And now we wondering why they pushing up daisies. Well, I tell you what, man, Israel got my full support. Keep them pushing up them daisies. They'll never do it again, will they? Until they get on their knees, every single one of them, and say, we're sorry for the actions we've taken, and we're sorry for electing a terrorist group and putting your families in Israel through all of this turmoil, and we'll never do it again. Then I say, Israel, please stop. But until then, clean slate. And I don't advocate for innocent people, but you got to do what you got to do to get rid of Hamas. And if innocent people are in the way, the blood is on Hamas. See you guys. Let me get the super chats real quick and I'm going to get out of here. All right. There's like 60-minute video compilation of Trump saying Iran could not have a nuclear weapon for the last 10 years. Yep, that's the one we played. Thank you for the super chat, John. Let's see. Tulsi literally just came out and said Iran doesn't have a nuke or working on a nuke since 2003 and on March of 26, 2025. Now, let me just say this real quick, okay? You in order for this is one thing I learned in the Bible too. When you see things that are contradictory, you have to go reevaluate how you're processing the information. If you are saying that Tulsi Gabbard came out on March the 26th and she said there's no evidence of it, but then our president, who you should believe, in my opinion, would be more trustworthy, or somebody that you would trust in more than Tulsi Gabbard, given the fact that he's been MAGA for three terms. I mean, you don't have to trust neither one of them, but if you see them contradicting each other, you got to say, well, wait a minute. Maybe, just maybe, I'm not aware of what's going on. You can say they're contradicting each other, or you can also say maybe, just maybe, because I trust Donald Trump. I don't think Tulsi Gabbard is a bad person. Maybe, just maybe, as of March the 26th, 2025, we did not have the intel that we have here in June. March, April, May, June. That's 3 months ago. And when we get new intel, maybe that changed the way we react to certain things. Unless you're willing to say that Donald Trump is bought and paid for by Israel, and he's just doing whatever Israel want to do, and Donald Trump is not aware of his surroundings. He don't know what's going on, and he's willing to put us all at risk, which he's done everything he said he was going to do, except, and he said he was not going to let Iran get a nuclear weapon, but somehow Donald Trump is a shield for the Jews. That's got to be what you're saying. If I see that Tulsi Gabbard said this in March, it is reasonable to believe that we've got new information by June. This is the previous administration's, and think about this. She's probably going off of the findings of the previous administration. And so according to the previous administration, they could have not been monitoring. They could have lied about it. They could have not even seek any information from Israel or nobody. That's why Donald Trump have been complaining about this for so long. She's probably just giving information that came out of the last administration. And now we're in the administration now. We get new information. We take action. It's, anyway. Netanyahu lied about WMDs. in Iraq in 2000, weapons of mass destruction, I guess, in 2002, before Congress, we aren't turning on Trump. But just because, this is the thing, okay, if you say he lied, I don't know if he lied. I haven't looked into it, because our country is corrupt too. Because there should be a process of verifying what a person is saying. If you say there's weapons of mass destruction, we should be able to verify that. And if we don't find weapons of mass destruction, we should have a reason to believe it, or we should call out Netanyahu for lying. Now, here's another way to think about it, is that maybe he didn't lie, and maybe the intel was bad. And, regardless of that, maybe he lied then, but is that 100% mean that he lied today? If he lied then, maybe you could consider he may have lied today, but that don't mean it's 100% true. The reason that I'm trusting what Netanyahu is saying, because our president, Donald Trump, whom we voted for and trusted for the last 3 terms, is saying that is mimicking what Netanyahu is saying. I trust Donald Trump, therefore I trusted his wisdom when dealing with Netanyahu. You think Trump don't know if he lied or not? Yeah, anyway, I'm not going to keep going over this, man. Anyway, they already lied in 2002. Okay. The Jews don't prefer sacrifice in the temple or recognizing the angels of the Lord and his spirit as God like they used to. Okay. Paul make it clear what the seed of Abraham is. The Jews have broken the covenant with God, just like the Old Testament God won't protect the state of Israel. That's not true. Anyway, I'm not going to go down this path. God made a promise. He made a promise. The Bible says he'll fulfill on his promise. What are we talking about? So God's going to renege his promise on the Jews? No, he's not. Why do you think the state of Israel is the state of Israel like it is today? And I think because God had his hand on it. All right, let's continue. Do you realize the angel of the Lord and his spirit as God, along with the Father? No, do they still worship a temple? They are broken covenant. I don't know what you're talking about, but I don't know. I don't have no idea what this means. Okay. Yes, he blessed them if they are in covenant. No, he doesn't. The Bible says he blessed those. His blessings reign on the just as well as the unjust. If you read Romans 9, 10, and 11, it talks about how God is still blessing them, even though they've fallen away. He's not going to forget his chosen people. That's what the Bible say in Romans that I just read. They would tell me you don't agree with Israel's attack on Iran. Do you want another 20-year war? I want to stick my middle finger up at you, but I'm not. What are you talking about? I really want to stick my middle finger up at somebody that's this crazy. I support Israelis' attack on Iran if they're trying to develop nuclear weapons. If they lied, of course I don't support that. If they lied about it. But if they're telling the truth, I support it. Donald Trump supports it. Everybody in their right mind supports it. If they're telling the truth, then they developed a nuclear bomb. If they lied, then we talk about something different. And he says, do you want a 20-year war? Just because I support them stopping Iran from getting a nuclear weapon don't mean I support a 20-year war. What in the do make you think we're going to be in a 20-year war? What do you think? What makes you think we're going to be in a 20-year war? Okay. And just because they're bombing facilities in Iran mean we're going to end up in a 20-year war. Donald Trump has already said he's not going to do it. The beautiful thing about having a country like this is that you get a president every 4 years or 8 years. And Donald Trump is not getting us in a never-ending war. He said he wouldn't. Has he? The war been going on now for 5 days. What are we doing now? We still haven't gotten knee-deep involved in this war. Israel is doing what they need to do, and they're handling business. They've been at war with Gaza, I don't know how long. How many boots on the ground we got in Gaza? 0. You can't name a war that American soldiers have died at the hands of Israel. Israel's been fighting their own wars. Now, I'm going to verify that because I'm under the impression there is no wars. But I'll verify it because I haven't just done my due diligence and researched it deeply. But just a few things that I've looked at is that all the wars that they fought the 42 war or 46, 47 war, whichever one, that first war, the 7-day war, all these other wars, we haven't had boots on the ground in any of those wars. Okay. The elite are using the same rhetoric that got us into Afghanistan and Iraq. I can't. You guys are just listening to talking points and can't have the circumstances that got us into Afghanistan aren't, like, you gotta be retarded to think this. I'm just saying, they flew a plane into the World Trade Center and the World Trade Centers came crashing down. They crashed a plane in Pennsylvania somewhere. They flew a plane into the Pentagon. Thousands of people died. Whatever's got us in a war, that will pull the trigger fast. Now, you think we're going to enter in a war because Israel is bombing Iran military facilities, and they're controlling it. They have control of the airspace. They're dominating. We're going to end up in a 20-year war we haven't lost a single American soldier, and we lost 3,000 people on home soil. And you telling me both of those things make sense to you, that they're equal? They're using the same rhetoric. They don't. Anyway. Good afternoon, Tatum. Just listening to your commentary. I enjoy listening to commentary. I just feel you attack your own identity a lot, which leaves a lot of us confused. I attack my own identity. What does that mean? Do you know what that means?
I think it's how you talk a lot about black people.
How is that my identity? Am I selling drugs? Oh, not as you think that all black people are the same. Oh, you think all black people are the same. So when I talk about black people who are stupid, you think I'm attacking my own identity. I don't identify with that foolishness. So you confused about what? Because you think every black person is the same? Well, that's on you, brother. That's like saying that's like if a white person is talking about other dumb white people, that you say, oh man, you're attacking your own identity. Anyway, let me finish this up. My wife is calling me. Veronica, thanks so much for the super chat. Debbie, thanks for the super chat. You watch college baseball, alma mater. I love you guys. I got to get off here.
Oh, the land of the free